This presentation will show you the 5 interactive games I put on my bulletin board to go along with my 5 lessons for our unit plan. My bulletin board was titled Fun with Food Groups, and it incorporates 5 interactive games that correspond to each of my 5 lesson plans. The picture on the left shows the bulletin board without any of the pieces attached to it, and then the picture on the bottom right shows what it would look like if the student completed all of the components. For the first activity, the student is to complete 2 different parts. The first part is the plate on the top, and what they have to do is match the different types of macronutrient names with what they provide our body with. And then they'll get these pieces out of a folder or an envelope labeled macro types. And then the second part is they'll get the pieces out of an envelope labeled food group names. And what they have to do is they have to put the names of the food groups in alphabetical order. So this assesses their ability to organize things in alphabetical order. The directions to the activity are shown on the right. The students would just place these pieces onto the appropriate spot using the Velcro that is attached to the pieces and the board. The game that's located in the center of the board with the 6 different color circles corresponds with the day 2 lesson plans about fruits and vegetables. In this activity, the students will take the pieces out of the envelope labeled colorful fruits and veggies, and what they have to do is they have to look at the piece and decide which color circle matches the color of that fruit or vegetable, and they'll stick it on the correct circle. The activity located on the top right corner of the bulletin board corresponds with day 3 that goes over protein and dairy foods. In this activity, the students will take all of the pieces out of the envelope labeled hanging food pieces. And what they have to do is they have to put the pieces into matching groups, and then following the instructions that are on the right side of the board, such as 5 matching dairy foods, 4 matching dairy foods, 5 matching protein foods, they have to put these group on the appropriate string, and the string and the color of the paper behind the instructions correspond, so they know which string to put it on. This tests their matching abilities and as well as their ability to count. This activity also assesses their ability to tell the difference between protein and dairy foods, because there's 3 matching protein foods as well as 3 matching dairy foods, and the same for 4 and 5 as well. The activity in the bottom left corner of the board corresponds with day 4, which goes over the different types of grains and the good and bad grains, like whole wheat grains versus more refined white grains. So in this activity, they don't have to attach anything. What they do is they look at the bottom of the cup that's attached to the board, and there's going to be a picture of a different type of grain food on there. And then they have to determine whether this is considered a good grain that you should eat more of or a bad grain that you should eat less of. And then if they don't know what the picture is, I've actually put little words on the top of the card that tells what the picture is if they're unsure. And this could give them a better idea of what the correct answer would be. And so what they do is once they've determined if it's a good or bad grain, they're going to open the bottom of the cup like a door. And then inside there's either going to be a check mark like you see in the top left or an X mark right next to that picture. And this just assesses their ability to distinguish between good versus bad grains that they should eat either more or less of. The last activity is located in the bottom right-hand corner of the board. This corresponds with the 5th day of my lesson plan, which goes over how the food groups relate to each other in proportions and how much you should have on your plate. In this activity, what they have is they have an envelope labeled food flags. And in this envelope, there's little flags that has on one side a picture of the food, on the other side the name of the food. And what they're going to do is they'll decide what food group this belongs in, and they'll stick it into the ball that's attached to the board into the appropriate food group. It's more challenging if they look at the picture itself, but if they're unsure of what it is, they'll flip it over and the back of the card will tell them what it is, and this will give them a better idea of what food group it belongs in. And I've included labels for each of the food groups on the circles to make this activity just a little bit easier so that they don't have to know which part of the circle corresponds to each food group off the top of their head.